We're going to need to take our machetes and cut our way through the jungle maybe. But we did the right thing. We can know, even if we die out there in the wilderness, we did the right thing because God's with us now. God's on our side. And if He's on our side and with us, nobody can oppose us and prevail. So let them all go off the edge. I mean, at some point, even family and friends, and you got to let it go. Let them go over the edge if that's what they say. That, I just can't deal with it. I just can't worry about every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there, even if, one of those Tom, Dicks, or Harrys is Jesus Christ. No, we must care relentlessly, constantly. We need to live our lives like one big prayer. Thank God every day for every heartbeat, for every breath, for every pleasant thought, every pleasant smell, taste, touch, sound, or sight. Otherwise, those are missed blessings. And if we receive them, then we know, we're God's kids. We're special. We're very powerful, each and every one of us. We need to accept that fact. And as Americans, we're the most influential nation on earth, like it or not. That's your lot. That's your responsibility. Are we setting the right example with this ever-growing wealth imbalance that I've had to witness my whole life since they murdered JFK? Who was getting rid of the Federal Reserve, was already issuing a new currency, a new dollar. Suddenly that dollar disappears when he dies, and the Federal Reserve we're in debt to $30 trillion. How do you think they're paying the interest on that principle? It sure isn't all the billionaires that keep on increasing. There's obviously they're not paying it because their wealth keeps increasing while our debt keeps increasing. It always falls on the people at the bottom rungs of the social economic ladder. And then society bitches and moans about handing them welfare. Oh, you losers, food stamps. I mean, get with it, man. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Why don't you get a job, man, hippie, lazy person on drugs, alcohol? I know your problem. I got you pegged. I know the way people think. I've met plenty of people. I'm a talkative guy. I get into conversations with a lot of people. A lot of people are very threatened to get into a conversation with me because they know that I'm not going to get into debates. I mean, first thing, I make sure they understand I'm a devout and zealous egalitarian. And chances are they probably don't even know the meaning of the word. I mean, you'd be amazed at how many people don't even know the meaning of the word. But yeah, so I believe in equality, and that ain't changing. That belief keeps growing. Big, firm believer in equality. Oh, yeah. Anti-racist? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Equally beloved children of God. It's God's planet. What would you do if you were God and you had 8 billion children? Share. Get along with each other. I want the same for you, child, as I want for him and her and all my children. I want you safe and secure and free and prosperous. I want you content and joyful all the time without any lapses. Wouldn't that make sense? If you were a really good parent, isn't that the message you'd send to your kids? This is what I want for you. Have no doubt. No ulterior motive here. No. Poverty is imposed, and especially in this day and age, when there's such an excess, an abundance of everything. It's all made up. It's scarcity made up. It's called imposing austerity in the name of saving the planet. And yes, eventually the people will understand how the elitists think. And that's it. That is the reason. So I'm so sorry that you got to be dirt poor and desperate, but it's for the greater good. We're trying to save the planet. And we're not going to talk about disruptive technology, perpetual clean energy. We're not going to have that discussion. And we'll keep the mainstream media in our pocket. And that's it. We just don't talk about the things we don't want to talk about. End of story. So get used to it. Get comfortable with the way it is, because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And maybe you choose to just die, and that would help the planet, because then you got a zero carbon footprint. So I just don't care. Kill yourself. I just don't care. Die of starvation. Die out in the cold. I just don't care. die from some homicide, from some crime that was induced because of desperate poverty. I just don't care. That's the message the evil men that are running the show right now have for you and me and everybody else out there. They just don't care. They just don't love you. They sold their conscience a long time ago for a buck, and they're committed. They're not God's friend. They say they don't believe in God. Well, they're going to find out, friends, the hard way, as anybody else that doesn't believe in God. I mean, it's a free offering. Who would turn that down? Free insurance, man. Don't turn it down. Explore it. Investigate it. Use your God-given imagination and explore it. You know, to think all God really wants from us is friendship, like Christ said, is just so beautiful. That He wants an intimate, close friendship where it's your best friend. Because you can't lay a lot of stuff on your best friend, but you can with God. Because it's not fair to your best friend or a psychiatrist or anybody else. Everybody's got their issues that a human being can't help them with. Okay, everybody. So I'm on to some recent current events and other talking points I want to get into. But, you know, this original sin is the source of all the suffering organically that we all experience. It's across the board. Disease, death, natural disasters. It's too hot, it's too cold. Everything bad. Childbearing pains greatly increased for the woman. God could have made a baby the size of a mouse like He did with a kangaroo. And men, they're earning their bread by the sweat of their brow, and the ground produces thorns and thistles. Okay, this all came from the original sin. And it has to be ended, and it will. Jesus said, that day is coming at the renewal of all things, when the curse is lifted, because that's the curse. When God was so angry, He wished He didn't even create us at one point. He didn't give up on us due to His amazing grace. He couldn't. He probably checked His own conscience. I want to just recycle all this pottery. But He didn't. And then later, when the time was right, He sent us His Son, Jesus. And that's it. The final propitiation. The final ransom to be paid for our salvation. That's it. All authority belongs to Christ now. He will judge us. It's coming. That day is coming, man, when the sky is going to be full of a multitude of holy angels, and God's going to reclaim this earth, and Christ is taken over. That's the way it's written. That's called the return of Christ. He doesn't come back as a baby. Oh no, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Prince of Peace. That's who comes back and imposes God's will on earth. And your heart, your mind, better be ready for a world and wanting a world without any form of money, because it far too easily corrupts the hearts and minds of men. We cannot handle it. In short, we just can't handle it. You know, the big fat gnarly elephant in the mainstream media collective room is simply the wanton, vast, unbridled social economic injustice in America, and the horrors which continue to grow to this day. But their solutions, for any solutions, you hear crickets. This to them is a mere innocuous oversight by an entire corporation of professionals specializing in interesting and informative issues. But, you know, this is deliberate. This is propaganda, my friends. The way they ignore issues like this, the big fat elephant in the room, social economic injustice. Where does it end? Where does currency debasement end? And who's it really hurting? Why are we setting up welfare programs? Why does that $50 billion a year HUD money go into the pockets of fat cats and make the problem of homelessness and unaffordable housing worse? Why do we tolerate that? Why don't we fix the problem, just buy people houses with that money? Then we're done. There's a payoff time. Obviously, they don't want the problems fixed. And are you on that side? Are you lukewarm about this issue? I'm telling you, friends, be zealous about it. Be God's friend. And by extension, you become a friend to humanity. It happens just automatically, organically, it'll fall into place. And that's what you want to be, everybody's friend, like I am. Even your enemies, you can say, look, you could be my enemy if you want, but I'm not yours. I'm on your side. I want the best for you and everybody else. Friends, I pretty much got to leave it there. And just know the social economic injustice business, when taken to the extreme, it has always led to bloody revolutions through history. This is a different time in history. I don't think that's where it's headed. I believe it's like the book of Daniel talks about in chapter 12. Knowledge, the hand of God, is what's going to do it for us. But listen, best to everybody. I love everybody. And have a great day. Have a great eternity. And try to be